Hello and welcome to the NTI PodTalk. My name is Dianne Kaler and I'm Director of Nutrition Therapy Institute. Join me as I talk to interesting people in the field of health and wellness, food and farming, and anywhere else we find conversations that matter to our community. By listening, you'll learn a little about NTI and a lot about the things and people around you that make a difference for your wellness. Welcome and let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of the NTI PodTalk. I am Dianne Kaler. I'm Director of Nutrition Therapy Institute, and today I am really excited to talk to Joe Miller, who is Managing Partner for Kalona, which is markets and sells, and I don't know if you're the parent company for Kalona Supernatural, but you are Kalona Supernatural. And we're going to talk about what Kalona Supernatural is here in a moment. But Joe, thank you so much for being here. I am really excited to have this conversation. As we were talking offline, I mentioned that one of my roles in life is to advocate for farmers and farmers who are growing foods in the ways that are going to make sure that we're getting nutrient density from our foods. And I always like supporting those people who are doing that. So I'm really excited to talk to you because I'm familiar with your brand and have used it in the past, and I'm hopeful that we'll get some other people interested in it as well. So thank you for being here, Joe.
Hey, Diane, thank you so much. Yeah, our interests are very much aligned in supporting quality food and our family farms. It's interesting. I was just doing some research here a while ago as I was talking to some retailer groups that we work with and found that in 1970, we had over 670,000 or 640,000 dairy farms in the United States. In 2022, the last census, there were less than 25,000 dairy farms in the
Wow.
United States.
Wow.
So it's really important that we do have an understanding of where our dairy's coming from, where our food's coming from,
Hmm.
and connecting people with that source of food, which
Hmm.
it just yeah, I appreciate hearing that similar vibe coming from you and what you're doing there, connecting people with their food. And yeah,
Hmm.
there's a lot of macro and micronutrients as part of it with the work you do, but
Hmm.
it goes back to the source and where the food's grown and raised.
Yeah. Yeah, which is, one of the most important features about selecting foods, with intention, having intention about the foods that you select, and knowing what your food eats,
Yeah,
being a very important part of it. So, all right. So tell us about Kelowna Supernatural. Tell us, how you guys came to be. And give us some background on your business.
absolutely. So it started in the early 2000s. There's a Our farms are located in south central Iowa, and they didn't have anyone. They've been farming organically for decades. In fact, some of our farms we trace back over 150 years of never having used herbicides or pesticides on
Wow.
their farm. They've been farming organically for that long, but no one was picking up the organic milk from these farms. It was all going into the conventional market. In the 90s, some of that milk was still being sold as organic, but the farmers weren't getting recognized for it. And as the standard was going to the USDA was legislating what organic meant, starting the USDA organic symbol. They started looking for an avenue to market their milk, sell their milk as certified organic. and get recognized for it and fairly paid for it.
Yes.
But there was no one willing to come into that region and pick up the milk. So a group of farmers got together and started what was known and still is today as Farmers Creamery. It's the processing plant there. In that process of starting it, they partnered with Bill Evans, a local finance, accountant, business consultant, to help them with the business side of it, which quickly morphed into, hey, if a big part of what we need is sales, so let's work together and start sales. And that's when Bill Evans started a unique business portfolio where he partnered with the farmers with Farmers Creamery. He started up Kalona Organics, which owns and markets the Kalona Supernatural brand. We distribute our dairy products across the country. He also started up a few other business entities that all support the creamery known as Farmers Creamery. Over the years, as farmers wanted out, he bought out their shares. Today, the creamery is solely owned by Bill Evans and his family, but we still work with the same farmers that had started the creamery back in 2004, 2005. This all, was a success story overnight, but 20 years later, we're still out here pushing the product and getting it into retail stores, growing our farmer base, and finding ways to increase even improve today what our farmers are doing and how they farm 20 years later, or you could say 150 years later after starting organic farming in our Kalona, our Iowa area.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's kind of sew up something maybe for our audience. So Kelowna is just dairy products, and talk about the types of dairy products that you guys sell.
Correct. So Kelowna is organic dairy products.
Thank you for
We
making that clarification. Yes.
Yeah, it's a big deal for us.
Yes, it is. It
Um,
is. I totally agree with you, and that was my fault for not saying that.
no, we we started with organic fresh milk, non-homogenized, so the cream naturally rises to the top. Low temp vat pasteurized, the lowest temp allowed by law for sales across state lines, recognized by the FDA. And then we added on over the years, we added on yogurt, a cream top whole milk yogurt. We added cottage cheese, sour cream, a flavored milk, chocolate milk. We do a seasonal eggnog. We do creams, whipping cream, half and half, buttermilk, which is a cultured milk, great for baking. A lot of people, it's probiotic, so a lot of people will drink it as well. I like adding it to a smoothie. And then in 2018, we launched a line of whole milk kefirs. And more recently, we launched a French onion dip based on our sour cream, a clean
Mm,
French onion dip.
great. Okay, good. So a wide variety of products. For those people who, maybe don't do fluid milk, there's lots of other opportunities to partake in the
Absolutely.
organic dairy products that you do. Okay, so so you are managing partner. Sorry, all the titles
Yeah,
in
it's
businesses. Sometimes they all overlap in my brain, and I lose track of what what the titles are.
exactly. Let me just say my day-to-day main role is sales director. So I
Okay.
get the products. I'm responsible for working with our retailers, our distributors, talking to consumers across the country, getting the products out there. Um, Managing partner is just a title I have for the business side of what we do there. I manage the whole organization known as Kalona Supernatural or Kalona Organics, which So it takes care of the branding, the the sales, the distribution of our product across the country.
Okay. And well, good to know your products are available across the country. What kind of stores do you sell in?
Yeah, most of the stores our products are sold in are the co-ops, uh, natural food stores such as Whole Foods, Sprouts Farmers Market, natural grocers. Those are like the main stores, fresh time markets here in the Midwest. And then, but across the country, the co-ops, the independent specialty and natural stores you'll find us in, and a few crossover stores, stores that would sell some conventional products, but have a little wider selection of natural and organic products. You don't find us in many of the full-on conventional or supermarket stores. You'll find us a little bit more in the specialty natural side.
Okay. All right. Great. Okay. So now that we kind of have all those details out of the way, let's start talking about the dairy and the fact that it's organic and or organic is kind of one thing. And the way I always
Mhm.
talk about organic is that particularly for dairy, and even meat, but for dairy, organic is a good bar to reach towards. But in my mind, it's not the highest bar. The highest bar for me is pasture raised and this new term, well, it's not brand new, but it's still not, it doesn't flow off the tongues of people as easily, which is regenerative, right? So um uh talk to me about your thoughts about those
Mhm.
what I just said.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, we started because our farmers were doing things differently than their neighbors and differently than the conventional process. Our average herd size today is still under 50 cows.
Yeah,
So we have very small family farms. We have some farms as low as 8 cows. Now,
yeah.
in order for a farmer to make it with 8 cows, they have a diversified farming operation. They're not just
Sure.
doing cows or dairy cows, but we are still there to support them with their 8 cows.
Hmm.
They value, many of the farmers are Amish and Mennonite. We have a wide diversity of farmers, not exclusive to Amish and Mennonite. But the reason I call that out is because they value the smaller farms, the working the soil, the value of taking care of the land that they're
Hmm.
giving. They
Hmm.
really go back to, and this is what I love about the regenerative. Regenerative at its core goes back to the philosophy that as we take care of the soil, it will take care of us.
Hmm.
And in our scenario, you could say as we take care of the soil, it takes care of the animals take care of us.
Right.
Um, so this was really going back to the philosophy that got us started was we're not spraying herbicides or pesticides on our farm.
Hmm.
We're taking care, the cows are out. Back at that time, they were out in the pasture
Hmm.
eating grass, eating whatever was planted in the pasture. Today, our farmers try to take a lot more nuanced approach to it, planting in some native grasses, getting diversity of grasses, diversity of legumes in their grasses, because that is really what sustains. Number one, brings a full package to the cow, full salad bar, as one of our farmers likes to say.
Hmm.
The cow can go in there and pick the different grasses, whatever they're looking for. Um, they can go in there and select from the full salad bar. And by having a good variety of the grasses today, it also is more resilient during drier times, during wetter times. The farmer can manage a bit better for that. And so we're now in the 2020s, and our Phil Forbes, our supply chain director, reached out and said, "Hey, what do you think about getting our farms verified as regenerative?" And I said, "Well, okay, what's that mean?" I'm sorry, it was like, okay, what does that mean for our farmers? He said, well, frankly, he said a lot of our farmers are already well past what
Right.
regenerative is, as far as how they take care of the soil, how their cows are rotating on the pasture. And he said, but it would help some of our farmers come up in their farming operations, improve their farming operations. And one of the big things we need to do is set up trainings for our farmers so that we can bring them together and showcase the benefits of tweaking what they do slightly.
Mm-hmm.
So as we went through all of our farms, we partnered with Land to Market, regenerative verified. They are very clear. They do not have a certification. They have a verification. Our farmers don't follow a checklist to get it. They follow a set of practices, a way of farming. And through the audit process that they go through annually, and then every 3 years, it's a very intensive, actually counting the amount of bugs in a square foot or a square yard, testing water retention when you dump a lot of water onto a small area. How well does the ground soak it up? Those type of testing areas are ways to showcase that the farm is not only farming the way they say they're farming, but actually continue to improve their farm, increase the topsoil depth, increase the biodiversity of plant life, of bug life. So much of farming had moved over the decades to, let's get rid of diversity, let's get rid of
Exactly.
bugs,
Yes,
let's spray
exactly.
herbicides and pesticides. And regenerative goes, no, a healthy system has all this, has diversity. It works well with wildlife. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. If when you actually have a farmer that loves to see the deer out in the field with his cows, because it's one with nature. They're not taking away from our cows. It's just part of the diversity of nature out
Mm-hmm.
there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that's the beauty of it. And then the microbes and the that are building the soil and growing the soil depth and the nutrient value, or I don't think I'm saying it right. It's not the nutrient value, but the bio value of the soil, which
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
increases
biodiversity. Yeah.
yeah. So that's, I don't know. I got so excited. I forget what your original
Yeah, no,
question
that's
was,
it.
but
That's it. So, so my concern with just having something labeled organic is that kind of the bare minimum requirement. And there are companies out there, dairy companies that they proudly promote their products as being organic, but the cows are fed organic grain. And that's as long as they're fed organic, certified organic grain, then that can be called organic, and the milk can be called organic, and all the other dairy foods can be called organic. But cows don't thrive. Their own health is not at optimal level. They don't thrive in a situation where they're eating grain, whether it's organic or not. They thrive in an environment that is, being illustrated by the picture behind you. This
yeah.
lush green grass that, and as you mentioned, kind of wild grasses and other green plants, because that's really how the cows are going to stay the most healthy. And that is the benefit of having this additional, level of quality, expectation of, we could call it quality in the ways that the way that the animals are raised, that they live outdoors, they get exposure to sunlight, they're eating their natural diet so that they are healthy, because if they are healthy, then they're going to be producing the most nutrient dense foods that we're going to be getting. And so that's kind of what I was getting at. And I want, I didn't want to like make it all about me. So I wanted to hear your, and
I
you
appreciate
said
that.
everything, like making sure that there's biodiversity, both in the soil, the, microorganisms, the bugs, the insects, the wild animals, the deer, and, probably other wild animals. And all of
Mhm.
that is what just serves to improve the the health of the animals, which is a critically important thing. We want to make sure that the animals are healthy for their own sake, but also for ours. And it also, part of regenerative in my mind is regenerating, right? You said making sure the soil is healthy, because when we take care of the soil takes care of us. But it's not only about like keeping it at the same level, it's always improving. So you said like increasing topsoil, increasing the biodiversity, actually trying to get more insects and more bugs to come and more
Mhm.
wildlife to come. Because when you have bugs and wildlife coming onto your farm, that's a sign that nature recognizes the value, the lush value that they can access on that farmland. If there aren't any bugs, if there aren't any wild animals, it's either because you're doing something intentionally to deter them, you're putting poisons, you're putting bad stuff on, or the animals and insects, they look at it, or they, come and nibble, or they take a look at it, they fly over and they're like, oh, there's nothing here for me. This is dead. Why would I stay here? So they move
Yeah.
on. Right? So that's kind of where I'm coming from.
Yeah. You want a life cycle that
Yes.
is
Yes.
growing and improving, not taking from.
Yes.
um
Love that.
because there's a life cycle in there, and for a true life cycle to work, you have to have plants dying in this grass. You have to have the cows stomping on some of that grass and shoving it into the soil and killing some of it. But then you have to have the cows giving back to it as well in
Yep.
their manure and
Hmm.
spreading it around. You have to have the bug life coming in and breaking up that carbon so that the soil can use it. It's just a full life cycle.
Hmm.
And then we have to balance it. We want the milk from the cow, so we have to figure out how to balance that as well.
Hmm.
And I will say, we are not 100% grass fed.
Hmm.
We do not promote 100% grass fed. And there's actually, I'm going to say something a bit controversial. There's no
Okay.
dairy out there that truly is, because grass fed beef does very well as 100% grass
Hmm.
fed,
Hmm.
because you're only harvesting that cow's energy one time.
Oh, okay.
It's when
Gotcha. Hmm.
when she dies.
Hmm.
The dairy cows, we're asking them to give their energy every single day during their lactation period.
Hmm.
And it is important that we sustain that cow's energy. And there are times of the year where she can get plenty of energy from the grasses,
Hmm.
where the spring, uh, mid fall, the grasses are lush and growing well. But then you hit a dry spell during the summer
Hmm.
and you get more fibrous, less energy rich grass, or you come in the wintertime when you have to feed them stored grasses and
Yes.
it's not quite that young energy that you get from the grass. Several of the no grain standards out there allow for variations to the energy source. They might allow molasses to be fed, or condensed alfalfa pellets, which is a small pellet of energy boosting.
Mm-hmm.
We chose to take a look at it as what is the natural diet of an animal, of a cow,
Mm-hmm.
or a cow with or another animal with four stomachs, such as a bison. What's their natural diet? They're out there eating grasses in the wild,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're going to eat some mature grasses that have gone to seed, which is grain.
Yes.
What we
Right.
do is we just restrict for our farmers the amount of grain. We say
Mm-hmm.
feed them a balanced diet. Do not push it to, as conventional farms do, or even your large organic farms, 35% of their diet is grain, because it's pushing the cow's production. And I think that's what you're referring to.
Yes. Yes. I was referring to all grain. Yes.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
and that the reason they do that is it's a really, I mean, it's an energy source. So
Mm-hmm.
you pump those cows up on energy, and they're producing lots of milk, and they burn through them. It's
Mm-hmm.
why the average cow only 2 to 4 life cycles of milking. We have some of our farms that, so we're looking at 4 to 6 years. Our average lifespan of our cows is around 10 years.
Yeah. That's
We
good.
have some that are 15 years old, and it's not because they are a compassion farm and not putting the cows out on the back pasture. It's because the cow is still healthy and producing milk, and she still belongs to be there, but that's because she's had a low stress environment to
Mm-hmm.
live in.
Mm-hmm.
She's been taken care of nutritionally, and she's been producing nutritionally dense milk for a long time. But it comes back to not overstimulating, over energizing that cow with an artificial diet that they were never meant to eat.
Yes. Yes. And thank you for bringing in the nuance because
Mm-hmm.
that's important. And thanks for making those clarifications. Let's move on to something that you mentioned earlier, and that is that uh, you know um, sort of eschewing the use of ultra pasteurization and homogenization. So, can you
Yeah.
talk to us? You mentioned low VAT or VAT pasteurization
Mm-hmm.
and non-homogenation. Like, why should someone be worried about those things? Talk to us about why people should be looking for dairy products that are not ultra pasteurized and not homogenized.
So the non-homogenized, you may be able to educate me more nutritionally on what it does to the body. But I will tell you from our aspect early on, one of the big reasons we didn't, well, let's actually, I'll leave you in on a little secret. One of the big reasons we didn't do it right away is because a homogenizer is expensive. And so you
Yes.
go with the cheaper process. No, but the farmers early on were looking at okay, we have organic milk, but truly, how do we set ourselves apart on the shelf? And they sat down and said, we love our own milk. We think it's delicious. It tastes good. Why is that? Well, they were enjoying it fresh right from the farm.
Mhm.
And so as they looked at what would make them unique on the shelf, they said, let's deliver it to consumers as close to the raw state as possible. And the first step with that was non homogenization, allowing that cream to naturally separate to the top as it does when it's raw.
Mhm.
So, cream molecules, the fat molecules, are larger and lighter than the milk solids, the whey, all the other components of milk. So left on its own in a jar, in the tank, in a bottle, they separate to the top and create this nice, thick, rich cream top on the top. And so for us, it really comes down to, as over the years, as we have explored and looked at, do we want a homogenizer? Do we not? Do our consumers want one? Do they not? It really kept coming back to, but this is milk in the most natural state that you can get it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of different, and admittedly, some contradicting arguments out there on either side of it. But we fall on the side of, we want to deliver milk that is natural, that is close to raw as possible, believing that's what your body's going to recognize and digest best.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can you correct me on any of that, Dianne?
Yeah, no, that's all it. Homogenization, uh, in order to keep the fat molecules combined with all the proteins, you have to actually change the structure
Yeah.
of the fat molecules and to a certain degree the protein molecules. And all of that serves to, because of these altered structures, serves to not only affect the way that it's digested, but once it is digested and those components are absorbed, the different structures turn on certain particularly inflammatory markers in the body. And it's just because, as you say, it's not so, humans have been consuming dairy foods for whatever the statistics are,
Mm-hmm.
10,000 years, 9,000 years, 8,000 years, whatever people say. But let's say it's, 10,000 years. Um, that's a lot of time to interact with human genetics and human physiology such that our physiology became adapted to consuming that milk in that way for long period of time. And I don't know when homogenization started. I don't know. I don't know the history of when it started, but certainly not more than 100 years ago, probably. And so, 100 years of homogenization is a really short period of time for our bodies to be able to change the way we recognize these molecules that we're getting from this particular food source. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's.
See, I knew you'd be able to explain it so much better than I could on
Well, you did a good
how it
job too.
affects us. But
Yeah.
uh, so let me hit on the vat pasteurization
Yeah.
and
I think that's
why.
really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, that one there is something I'm hugely passionate, and as a company we're hugely passionate about, is we get this great milk. So our farmers aren't the only ones farming in a great way and taking
Hmm.
care of their animals, farming organic, regeneratively. One of the one of the concerns I have is whenever that milk is taken, and I'll just say it, it's sterilized.
Hmm.
So you
It is.
take that milk, the ultra high temp pasteurization heats the milk up over 280 degrees by using steam blown through the milk. And it sterilizes the milk, gives them a 90 to 180-day shelf life. If you put it in aseptic packaging, which is sterile packaging, they can get sealed packaging, they can get 2 years, and it doesn't even need to be refrigerated.
Wow.
And that's
Okay.
where you get these shelf stable milks. You can see them. Milk is oftentimes in the refrigerator. That's where you just naturally expect to go get it.
Hmm.
The story is told when ultra high temp pasteurization first came to the United States. It started over in Europe. And when it first came to the United States, retailers just said, oh, it doesn't need to be refrigerated. They put it on the shelf and no one bought it.
Yeah.
So they
Right.
put it in because everyone's like, milk needs to be refrigerated. So they put it in the cooler and kept selling the exact same milk, and it
Uh-huh.
sold
Uh-huh.
because people are like, oh, it's in the cooler and it has a long date on it. This must be really fresh. The reality is, when our milk gets to is expiring, their milk is still not at the retailer shelf yet. It
Mm-hmm.
has that
Mm-hmm.
long of a shelf life. So when you go to a store and pick up milk and it says today is November and it says January on it, you need to question yourself, well, when was this bottled? Eh, we put 19 days shelf life on our milk because it's a fresh, live product that will die, just like produce. You keep
Mm-hmm.
produce around, you
Mm-hmm.
keep fruit around, they're live products, they will die.
Mm-hmm.
And though I did have a farmer correct me on that once, and I really liked it. His thing was, he said, Joe, milk doesn't die, it changes life forms. Like when it's sour, hey, if you have a fresh milk that sours, it can be used in a lot of baking applications still
Mm-hmm.
because it's just souring versus if you have an ultra high temp pasteurized, a sterilized milk that has gone bad, it's because of outside bacteria sources, because that
Right.
milk's already been killed, it's sterilized. So when you have outside bacteria sources coming in and it goes bad, you need to be careful about consuming it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where we get into all the different or the different use by, sell by, all these different dating things, because people are like, well, most of the milk sold out there now is ultra high temp pasteurized because it makes it easier for the dairies. You only have to batch run a bunch of product at one time, and they get to sell it for a long time, and they don't have to worry about it going bad. We're bottling whole milk every single day of the week and shipping it. It goes on the trucks that night, going out to warehouses, which are turning around and taking it out to their retail stores the next day. So we have to keep that turnaround time very short in order to get fresh products, so it doesn't run out of date before consumers get it. Versus if we put 90 days shelf life, boy, my job would become immensely easier.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's my question. So, ultra pasteurized, high temperature, ultra pasteurized is, you said 280 degrees. Vat pasteurized is what temperature?
Good question. So you have ultra high temp pasteurized. You have what's called HTST, which can range, it's high temp short time. It can range anywhere from 215 degrees to 161 degrees. And that's using a slightly different processing method. It's faster pasteurization, but it's still heating the milk up, gives them a little bit longer shelf life. It is more efficient to do it that way. But then we do vat pasteurization, low temp vat pasteurization. It's heated to 145 degrees for 30 minutes. So it's a slow but gentle pasteurization. Milk comes from the cow at around 105 degrees, and we take it and heat it up to 145, hold it there for 30 minutes, and then we have a cooling system it goes through, because once it hits that temp, we do want to cool it as quickly as possible. And so once it hits 30 minutes, we cool it as quickly as possible. But it is held at that 145 degrees for 30 minutes. And that is pasteurization is the process of reducing bacteria count. And somewhere in history, some scientists got together and said, okay, that's the amount of time that we feel comfortable putting our stamp on it. I'm saying what they said,
Mm-hmm.
putting our stamp on it that this is safe for, unless you have a milk allergy, for all humans to consume.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and the milk labels, do they tell you what type of pasteurization is being used? So you if you knew the classification of the type of pasteurization, you could find out, or, by listening to what we've been talking about, you would know what the
Right.
temperature is.
So
Did they label it?
ultra high temp pasteurized is required to be labeled by law as ultra pasteurized, ultra high temp pasteurized, some variation of that. Ultra pasteurized. There may be a few that would just get by with labeling it UHT. But most times you'll see the words ultra high temp pasteurized or ultra pasteurized on it.
Okay.
That mid level that I described, the 161 to 215, you'll see the word pasteurized on it.
Okay.
Anyone that's going to the extra work and bother of doing it at the low temp vat pasteurized as we do it is going to label it as vat pasteurized or low temp vat pasteurized, some version of that.
Okay. Okay.
But all we have to, by law, all we have to do is label it as pasteurized. But if you're going to go to this work, either find a small dairy in your local town. I mean, we're not the only ones. There's some other small local dairies that are doing an excellent job.
Mhm.
Talk to the farmer, talk to the processor, and ask
Right.
them what
Right.
pasteurization method do you use. And if they say batch or vat pasteurized, it is this low temp gentle pasteurization.
Okay, so batch would be another word for that.
Batch would be another word for that. Yep.
Okay. All right. Okay, good. That's really good, useful information for people to make
Mm-hmm.
decisions on. Okay, yeah. Because I don't read the labels really in depthly, but I do notice that the only place I ever see ultra pasteurized is on cream, like, little cartons of cream.
Okay.
And I didn't know if that was just something that was done on cream or if they do it on other products as well.
Not all, but most of your milk in the cartons out there, the cardboard plastic lined cartons,
Uh-huh.
um, most all of those are going to be ultra high temp pasteurized.
Okay.
There's a few across the country that are not, but they're far and few between.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them will be the any of the shelf stable. Think of any of the lunch milks that you see, even organic. There's a few organic regenerative out there now that have a lunch milk that sits on the shelf, and those are ultra high temp pasteurized. I mean, there's no other way around it.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a local milk, most of those will not be ultra high temp pasteurized. They're going to be pasteurized at that 161 to 215. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if I had my choice, I would at least go to that. Stay
Mm-hmm.
away from the ultra high temp pasteurized. That is a total sterilized product.
Mm-hmm.
The difference between our milk and the mid level, I'm going to call it, pasteurized and pasteurization, is the change in the enzyme and the protein structure that as
That's
you
right.
go higher heat, it breaks apart the protein structure, it destroys the enzyme structure. I mean, it still has protein in it. I mean, that's why
Mm-hmm.
they can still say protein.
Mm-hmm.
The protein is still in there, but the form is altered and it affects the way your body recognizes and can use it. There I am getting into
Yeah.
your world,
No,
which I should
you're
stay
you're
out
right.
of.
No,
But
you're right. You're right.
this is as you get to the different heat levels, that affects it. But even at, I mean, because I've seen different research in the past, and even at 161 to 185 degrees, there is still some original protein and enzymatic activity as in its original form. It's reduced every 5 degrees or whatever. I don't know where the breakdowns, but as you go up, it you destroy more of it. It's reduced, but then till you get to the 280, there's nothing in there. So I mean, I would at the very least do yourself a favor and find a pasteurized milk
Mm-hmm.
and not a
Ultra.
uh, ultra pasteurized. But then, whether it's our milk or whether it's your local dairy that's doing a small batch processing, there is definitely processors out there that are doing batch or vat pasteurized across the country. Um, and a lot of those, even better, are your on-farm operation they're doing it themselves there, which I highly recommend. If you can find one, support them. I mean, they need your support as much as we need your support. But we have plenty of products, and we have other areas where, I mean, do yourself a favor and find our French onion dip. It is so good.
Yeah, I'll have to look for that. Um, okay, so that was a really good explanation. I greatly appreciate you giving that explanation. So you mentioned this dramatic decline in the number of dairies in the last, what is that, 55 years since
Yeah.
1970. Um, uh, this seems to be a travesty to me. Someone who's very interested in supporting farmers, this seems to be a travesty to me. So, um, I think a lot of it has to do with sort of consolidation with the large dairies and all that kind of stuff. So, um, how do we encourage people to generate more demand for this high quality dairy food such that the small number of dairies that still exist are able to continue to be in business, and then of those small dairies that do exist, with putting you on the spot, and I'm not
Mhm.
asking you to give an exact number, but how many of those are more conventional versus what you do and the types of dairy that farmers that you get your milk from? Because even if we maintain a bunch of small dairies, but they're all doing everything conventional, that's not really getting us to the optimal end goal, which is ensuring nutrient density, ensuring that we're doing things to support the cows' health and vitality, ensuring that we're doing things to support the soil and the environment as a whole. So, like, what are some obstacles for farmers to do this, and how do, obviously, besides what you're already doing, how can we as consumers do more to kind of move things in a different direction? Or can we? I don't know.
Well, I mean, some excellent questions there. I'll I'll say first of all, I don't know how many farms are in the country that are farming organic regeneratively.
Mhm.
Um, One of the stats I didn't share when I shared the large reduction of farms, which is heartbreaking. The large reduction is on its own. The concerning part is the stat that followed that is we went from an average of 19 cows per herd in 1970 to today, the average is 337 cows per herd.
Yeah.
Um, which goes directly to what you're talking about, and why my first response to your question is get to know the source of your food.
Hmm.
Dig into who they are, who the farmer is, and come to appreciate the work they're doing. Um, and understand that there's going to be a value exchange that's going to be more expensive
Yes.
for this type of nutrient dense food. It is it is really hard to compete on two levels. Number one, I already talked about the efficiency of being able to mass run large volumes of milk, not have to be shipping the milk quite as much. Um, that makes a real difference. But the other difference is to be able to support small family farms that are doing things right. It's been said a lot, and it's talked about within the farming, within the food world, but the amount of money that flows into conventional farming. And then I'll hear a conventional farmer that's will tell me, but I don't get any extra money for my products. I mean, like, the government's not paying me anything for mine. I'm like, oh, but my friend, they are. The
Yeah.
amount of money flowing into the university to pay for research on genetically modified seeds that produce more product, or how to get more out of your cows, and the amount of money flowing into the university to develop different types of herbicides and pesticides, and how to get more out of your land instead of how to rebuild and how to rejuvenate your soil. It's how to get more, give me. And that's where and so, I'm like, you as a conventional farmer are benefiting
Mm-hmm.
from all of that flows into your farm for higher volume, higher efficiency, higher productivity. And the farmers we work with, the farmers scattered across the country who are doing things regeneratively, organically, they're not receiving the benefit of that. They're the best they can hope for is that the seed company that they buy their grains from to plant their even their grass crop, or
Mm-hmm.
to plant corn, organic corn. The best they can hope for is that they're doing some work on heritage seeds to make
Mm-hmm.
sure that they're getting the best varieties out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and those are being sold. And as we face the same thing as a food processor on the shelf, dairy has traditionally not been very high margin for retailers.
Right.
But as suddenly you start getting juices and drinks and non-dairy beverages on the
Yes.
shelf, that
All the fake milks,
all the
right?
fake milks that
Nut and
come in
seed
with high
milks.
margins,
Yep.
give them high margins, suddenly they look over the dairy products and go, hey, you should be having the same margins.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to call out any retailers. I don't want to put them on the spot because they're terrific partners of ours.
Mm-hmm.
But yet that's something we struggle with, is
Mm-hmm.
and understandably so, they're looking at their shelf space and saying, well, I could add another row of this fancy beverage and make a really good margin, high profit on it, or I could and reduce my milk, or I can leave the milk, but I'm going to make the milk cost more. All of that leads up to the milk from traditional, and I call it traditional, or from sources that are doing things right,
Mm-hmm.
is going to cost more. And
Mm-hmm.
we need to understand, and this is where I know there's been a pitch by many people out there, similar to the pitch you've made already, of selling products, or buying products understanding their nutrient density
Mm-hmm.
instead of cost per calorie. Are we
Mm-hmm.
looking at cost per nutrient or whatever? I mean, there's
Mm-hmm.
there's
Mm-hmm.
no good way to come about it, but
Mm-hmm.
at least helping consumers understand it goes a long way. And I do want to circle back around. This is why I tell you, don't just go out and look for Kalona Supernatural. Look and see if there's a local dairy in your area that can use your support. I mean, I hope you give some of our products have tried because, and this is one of the reasons why we've spread wide, is we do have a full line of dairy products that come from these farms, but you don't have to buy, hey, get our milk if you can get it and
Mhm.
enjoy it, but don't feel tied into just our milk. If you can find someone else locally that's doing it, go support them and help us out, buy some yogurt or something,
Mhm. Mhm.
there's plenty of love to go around, but find your local farmers that are doing things right and help spread their word because they need help. We all need help in getting the word out about the difference that our products are.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I do this thing where I am such a big advocate of supporting farmers as much as I can. I buy from from so many different farms because I'm trying
Mhm.
to support this place and I'm trying to support this place, trying to support this place. So, I buy beef from one place and then pork from another place and then, like I spread it all around so that I'm trying to give little bits as much as I can to a bunch of different people. So I am completely in alignment with you on that. Um, having diversity in all my different
Mhm.
sourcing. One thing I want to come back to that it never really dawned on me, like, I always talk about direct subsidies that are given, government subsidies that are, and by the way, government subsidies, it's us, the consumers, our tax dollars are being used to pay these
Yep.
government subsidies, to these large consolidated conventional farmers that have, like 3,000 or 367 or whatever the number was, average number of cows. That seems nothing compared to those that have like thousands, like 5,000
Oh
cows,
yeah.
right? And they're getting direct subsidies from the government. But I never thought of the sort of indirect, if you don't call it subsidies, indirect support, government support that they're getting through, all of the funding that's going into doing the research on how to get them to increase their yield and bigger, 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 more, 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 more. I never thought of that. So thank you so much for bringing that up because that is a huge thing because they are getting
Mhm.
benefits from that, and because they get whatever the education is from the USDA and their local, whatever agricultural agency or whatever they're called, they're getting all of that support so that they
Yeah.
can make more money because they are bigger, 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 more, 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 which almost all the time,
Well,
bigger, 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 more means lower quality, lower quality, lower quality.
look at where glyphosate and Roundup
Yeah,
were
glyphosate, yeah.
developed.
Hmm.
Glyphosate, yeah. Look where it was developed at. Look where a lot of these things that are used to push production, RBST. I mean, these
Hmm.
were all developed on campuses using research dollars.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is where, and then you look at a little bit of money. I've been part of an organic certifier group here in Pennsylvania that, and yeah, I live in Pennsylvania, by the way. Iowa is where the creamery is located and where our farms are located. I personally live in Pennsylvania, but I've been part of a organic certifier here. And through that work with them, I saw how little, and even when we got a grant to support farmers going certified organic and to grow, there's a really good program out there called Top Transitioning Organic Partnership Program. And it was all about how can we support and encourage more farms to go organic. It was put out by the USDA with partners across the country. And it was a pittance amount. I mean, it made a huge impact. And unfortunately, it wasn't renewed. The program wasn't renewed, but it was a very small amount compared to what flows into so many other sectors of agriculture. It was a pittance of an amount, and but
Mhm.
yet it made such a huge impact in the short amount of time that it was used. It was like, could you imagine if we got the amount of money that goes into, I'm not going to call out any other industry, but into
Mhm.
one of these advocacy industries out there, or into a university for research on the small agricultural crop. It's
Mhm.
like if you just get a similar amount going into organic and spread out across supporting organic regenerative practices,
Mhm.
the difference it could make in a hurry towards encouraging. And because one of the problems we saw as the organic certifier would be farmers going, hey, I'm interested, but I don't know where my markets would be. I don't know where would I sell the product. What would what's the process like to go through, and needing that support along the way
Yeah, and the
is a
3-year
big area.
transition from
Yep.
conventional to organic, that 3-year transition can be a scary time because you can't sell your products as organic, but so there it ends up
Could,
being a time when their financial stability may be compromised because of that. So that funding that you were talking about, I'm sure that was helpful for that 3-year
oh
transition.
yeah, very
Yeah.
much so. And could you imagine a country or people that so respected and appreciated what the farmers are doing, that there'd be a fund that would say, hey, look, during this 3-year transition, we will pay you what you'll be, out of this fund. We'll pay you that difference
Hmm.
for 3 years to support
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
And you will go into it, um, maybe even making more money right from the start as you're
Hmm.
starting your transition, knowing that there's a lot of paperwork, a lot of handwork they're doing behind the scenes,
Yeah.
that they deserve it. There'd be so many ways that we could actually support them if there
Hmm.
was a value system that people were willing to put behind it.
Hmm. And then the more people who are producing, in an organic way and selling things that are certified organic, the more you have supply. And I don't know, I'm not an economist. I don't know a lot about economics, but the more people you have producing those products, the lower the price is for the consumers. And not that we're trying to get everything as low as possible, but in order to get more people to demand these products, price is a threshold that some people just aren't willing to, commit to spending the money on organic, whether they believe that it has better quality or whatever. They're just like, I'm not going to do it. It's just,
Oh yeah,
expensive pee, really. you know, that's all they think of it
exactly.
as. Like, it's food, doesn't matter. I'm not going to pay extra for it. It comes, it does the same thing. It comes out the same way. But
Yeah.
so if you were to you know do something to support the farmers more, um, helps them stay in business, helps there be more of them so that the price can go down, so that there's more people, more consumers who are creating demand for it, and it just would be a better world overall, wouldn't it?
It so would be. And you take that one step further, and you'll have farmers, you'll have more farmers. This is why I'm passionate about even what I like to call conventional organics. I feel like they have a really good place because they're taking that step along the way. They're bringing the whole industry forward. We're getting less herbicides, pesticides, chemicals in our system, out of our waterways, out of our soils. We're taking more of that out, and then you're opening the door for more of those to say, hey, look, I could take one step further and actually start improving my soil, not just
Mm-hmm.
degrading it, not just
Mm-hmm.
stopping killing it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's,
Right.
this is where we went from a killing process with conventional, organic, we stop the killing and
Mm-hmm.
we live with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can, there's more that are ready to take that step of let's regenerate, let's live with the
Mm-hmm.
soil.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so critically important. All right, so the calls to action are buy, ask questions, look at, what goes into producing the food, know your farmer, all those kinds of things. Buy locally as much as possible. If you can't buy locally, pick good brands that like Kalona that you have done research on, and then um, you know create advocacy with, and I hate to say it, with the politics, right? We have to, like, so many people say, I'm not interested in politics. I don't want to do anything with politics. I don't want to have to deal with it. And I always say, do you eat? Yes.
Exactly.
Okay. Then you are involved in politics.
Mm-hmm.
If you eat, you're heavily involved in politics. And so taking that a step further and, um, you know, talking to politicians, representatives, at the state, even at the national level, to tell them what your expectations are and keeping programs like what you mentioned to help support organic farmers, keeping things like that. Because if we truly want these high quality foods, we have to demand it by how we spend our money,
Mm-hmm.
but also by how we use our voices. So I don't know.
Well said.
There
Yep.
we
Very well said.
go. All right. Well, Joe, this has been a really fascinating conversation. I probably could go on, but I feel like we've been going on for a long time. I have enjoyed it. So we talked about where people can find your products. Tell us how people can connect more with your company, with you. Like if
Mm-hmm.
there are people who want to ask more questions because we've told them to
Yeah,
investigate and know their farmer. So if people want to ask more questions, how do they connect with you and the company?
absolutely. So first of all, KalonaSupernatural.com is our website. That's Kalona supernatural.com. I know it's long.
That's okay.
But we have a lot of information on there. We have a product locator, so you can find a store near you that carries our products. And we do have products across the country, not in every neighborhood. We're not, we already talked about we're not in the conventional stores, but we're spread across the country pretty good. Uh, you can find our products there. We have a contact us on that site, or you can just reach out to organic at KalonaSupernatural.com. It's our email address, and you can reach out to us there. We'd love to answer any questions. I get a copy of all those emails. So if you have a question directly for me, we also have others on our team that are very well versed in everything we're doing. So whether you get an answer from me or one of the rest of our team, you can be assured that, yeah, we thought it through and we're sharing uh, what we're doing with you. But or you can be assured that whoever responds knows our farms, has been on our farms. And I would encourage you, check out especially our Instagram page. And the reason I say this is one Friday out of every month, we our marketing team tries to get out on one of our farms, and they do a live from the pasture. They've had cows pushing them over while they're in pasture. They take your questions. They do it all live right there, so you can ask them whatever question you want live, and they're going through and out in the pasture, out in the fields with the cows, talking to you.
Great.
And that happens on the first Friday of every month. So highly recommend checking that out. It's a lot of fun. They do a great job with that. And then finally, if you want to reach out to me directly and you have some questions, I'm also on LinkedIn. You can connect with me there.
Okay, great. Well, thanks. Any last words or anything that I didn't bring up that you want to make sure to get out there?
No, I thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to share. And like you said, I feel like we could keep going on, or maybe at some
Yeah,
point we'll have to continue the
yeah,
conversation. But
yeah.
it was a lot of fun, and a lot of fun hearing
Good.
your approach and your values come through.
Hmm. Good, good. All right. Well, Joe, thanks so much, and have a great rest of your day. So thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, Dianne Kaler here again. If you found this conversation interesting and haven't already become a student at NTI, check us out at ntischool.com. We hope to see you soon.